Please. The maid's voice was barely a whisper. Please, come back home. She'll destroy her. On the other end of the line, the most dangerous man in Japan went very still. Then he stood. He walked out of a meeting that men had waited 3 months to get. Her name was Ruth. She was a maid. She was also the only person in that house who loved the little girl. And she had just done a thing a maid must never do. She had called the master directly. She had begged. She did not hang up. That was the important part. She kept the line open, hidden in her apron on purpose, so that on the long drive home the boss would hear everything. Every word the other woman said. Every cruel thing. In her own voice, stay with me. Because when he walked in, he was not the man any of them expected. If you believe the quiet ones are the ones who save us, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I read every one. Let me go back to the beginning. Ruth had come to the Kuroda house 4 years earlier. She came to work, nothing more. A foreign woman in a country that did not make room for her. She cleaned, she cooked, she kept her head down. That was the whole plan. Then the mistress of the house got sick. Takeshi Kuroda's wife was gentle and kind. She was everything the house was not. She had a little girl named Hana. When the illness came, it came fast, and in the last year of her life, it was Ruth who sat with her. Ruth who held the basin. Ruth who sang to the little girl in the next room so she would not hear her mother crying. Before she died, the mistress took Ruth's hand. She asked one thing: look after my daughter. Ruth said she would. She meant it with her whole life. Hana was 4 when her mother died. She was 6 now. And in those 2 years, Ruth had been her mother in every way a person can be without the name. She braided her hair. She chased away the nightmares. She knew which stuffed rabbit had to be found before the girl could sleep. She knew everything about her. She was the whole warm center of that child's world. There was a small ritual between them. Every night, Ruth would sit on the edge of the bed. She would ask the same question: who loves you? And the little girl would answer, you do. And Ruth would say, always, no matter what. It was a small thing. It was the most important thing in that child's life. It was the only wall standing between Hana and the cold of that enormous house. Every night, Ruth built the wall again. Takeshi Kuroda loved his daughter, but he did not know how to be near her. When his wife died, something in him closed like a door. He would look at Hana and see her mother's face, and it hurt too much to stay in the room. So he worked. He was gone before she woke. He came home after she slept. He told himself he was providing. He told himself she was cared for. He was half right. She was cared for, just not by him. He had not held his daughter in almost 2 years. He did not know it had been that long. That is the terrible thing about grief. It steals time and does not tell you. He thought he was giving her space. He was giving her absence. And a child cannot tell the difference between a father who is busy and a father who is gone. To Hana, he was simply the tall, quiet man who paid for the house. She had stopped waiting for him at the window a long time ago. He decided Hana needed a mother. That was how he explained it to himself. A man cannot raise a girl alone. He was never home. The child needed a woman in the house. So he got engaged. To a woman named Kaori. Kaori was beautiful. She came from a powerful family. On paper, it was a good match. She smiled at Takeshi. She smiled at his men. She did not smile at Hana. And she did not smile at Ruth. Kaori understood something the moment she moved in. That child was a rival. Hana was the dead wife's daughter. She was the one Takeshi's money would go to. She was a small living reminder of the woman Kaori could never replace. And the maid, Ruth, was the wall standing between Kaori and the child. So she went to work on both of them. When Takeshi was home, Kaori was sweetness itself. She held Hana's hand for the cameras. She praised Ruth's cooking. But Takeshi was almost never home, and the moment his car left the gate, the other Kaori came out. She threw away the little girl's things. She called them clutter. A drawing Hana had made for her dead mother went into the bin. A scarf that still smelled faintly of the mother, gone. She told the child her mother was never coming back, and that crying about it was weak. She said that to a 6-year-old, and she watched the small face while she said it. Ruth saw all of it, and Ruth could do almost nothing, because Ruth was a maid, and Kaori was about to be the lady of the house. One word from Kaori and Ruth was gone, and then Hana would have no one at all. So Ruth swallowed it. She fished the drawing out of the bin and hid it in her own room. She held the girl at night. She stayed. Staying was the only power she had. She found other ways to fight. Small ones. Quiet ones. When Kaori canceled the child's birthday, Ruth baked a cake in secret and lit a single candle in the maid's quarters at midnight, just the two of them. When Kaori told Hana her mother had never loved her, Ruth pulled out the hidden drawing and the hidden scarf and told the girl the truth. Your mother loved you more than her own life. I was there. I saw it. These were not big rebellions. A maid cannot afford big rebellions. But in the war for one small child's heart, Ruth was winning it an inch at a time, in the dark, where no one could see. Kaori knew it too. She liked to remind Ruth of it. You are furniture, she told her once. You are a thing I have not thrown out yet. Remember that. Ruth remembered it. She also remembered a promise she made to a dying woman. Between the two, the promise weighed more. Then came the day Takeshi flew out of the country. He would be gone a week. Kaori had been waiting for exactly this. With him gone, and no cameras, and no one to answer to, she made her move. She had arranged it all quietly. A car was coming in the morning. Hana was to be sent away. To a school in the mountains, far from the city. The kind of place that takes small children and gives them back years later, quiet and hollow. Kaori had signed the papers herself. She had forged the permission. She told no one but the staff who had to move the bags. She wanted the girl gone before the father came home. She would tell him it was for the best. She would tell him the child had asked to go. By the time he learned the truth, it would already be done. Ruth found the papers by accident. A folder left open on a desk. A child's name on a form. A car booked for 8 in the morning. She understood in an instant. This was not just cruelty anymore. This was erasure. Kaori was going to make Hana disappear and dress it up as kindness, and there would be no undoing it. Ruth did the math of her own life in about 4 seconds. If she called the boss, she would almost certainly be fired. She would lose everything. A maid does not call the oyabun. A maid does not accuse the woman he is about to marry. She called him anyway. Her hands shook as she dialed a private number she was never supposed to have. It rang once, twice, then his voice, low and impatient. What please, she could barely get it out. Sir, it is Ruth. From the house. Please, you have to come home. She is sending Hana away. In the morning, she'll destroy her. There was a silence on the line that seemed to last a year. Say that again, he said. She said it again. And then, because she was clever, and because she was desperate, she did not hang up. She slid the phone into the front pocket of her apron with the line still open. She walked toward the sound of Kaori's voice. And she let the most dangerous man in Japan listen. He heard everything. His plane turned around before it left the ground. Then, in a car breaking every law between the airport and the house, Takeshi Kuroda pressed a phone to his ear and heard the truth about the woman he was going to marry. He heard Kaori laughing on the phone to a friend. He heard her call his daughter a burden. He heard the word she used for Hana, a word no one should ever use for a child. He heard her say she would have the girl gone by morning, and the old man would never know the difference. He heard her call Ruth furniture. He heard all of it. Every word, in her own voice. By the time the car reached the gate, Takeshi Kuroda was not grieving anymore. Grief is soft. What he felt was not soft at all. For 2 years he had told himself a comfortable story. His daughter was safe. His house was in order. His money bought good people to care for what he could not face. He had believed it, because believing it let him keep hiding. And in one phone call, held to his ear in the dark of a speeding car, the whole comfortable story burned to the ground. He had not been protecting his daughter. He had been paying a stranger to hollow her out. And the only real protection she had was a maid he had never once thanked. He would never forgive himself for that. But first, he had a house to walk into. It was almost midnight when he walked in. And here is the thing no one in that house had ever seen. They had only ever known Takeshi the Oyabun. Cold, distant, a man made of winter. When he walked through his own front door that night, he was none of those things. He was a father. He did not go to Kaori. He did not shout. He walked straight past her. Past the packed bags in the hall, up the stairs, to a small room where a 6-year-old was crying into a stuffed rabbit because the maid who loved her had whispered that everything would be all right, and the child had learned not to believe that anymore. Takeshi opened the door. Hana looked up, and the most feared man in the country got down onto his knees on the floor of his daughter's room. He opened his arms, and for the first time in 2 years, he said the only word that mattered. Papa is home. For a moment the little girl did not move. She did not know this man on his knees. Not really. She had learned not to expect him. She looked at his open arms the way you look at something too good to trust. And then, something in her broke loose. 2 years of missing him came out all at once. The little girl flew into him. He held her like a man holding the last warm thing on earth. He felt how small she was. He felt how long it had been. He pressed his face into her hair, and his shoulders shook. And the men who had followed him in from the car looked at the floor, because none of them had ever seen the Oyabun weep, and they understood they were never to speak of it. He did not let go for a long time. Down the hall, the bags sat by the door, going nowhere. Kaori found them there. She started to explain. She had a story ready. She always had a story. The school was wonderful. It was for Hana's own good. The child had asked to go. She smiled, and she spoke, and she was very convincing, because she did not know. She did not know that he had heard. Takeshi stood up. He kept his daughter's hand in his. He looked at the woman he had almost married, and he let her finish her lie. All of it, right to the very end. Then he said 6 words. I heard you. The whole time. Kaori's face did what Ruth had wanted to see for a year. It fell apart. The smile went first, then the color, then the story, all of it, useless now. He did not threaten her. He did not have to. He simply told her she would be gone before the sun came up, that her family would be told exactly why, and that if she ever came near his daughter again, there would be no corner of the country far enough to hide in. He said it quietly. Quiet, from him, was the most frightening thing in the world. Kaori was gone within the hour. The alliance, the marriage, all of it, ended in a hallway at midnight. Then Takeshi turned and looked at Ruth. She was standing in the doorway, still in her apron, the phone still in the pocket. She was certain she was about to be fired. She had broken every rule there was. She had called him. She had listened. She had accused his bride. She braced for the worst. He crossed the hall, and the most dangerous man in Japan bowed to his maid. "You kept my wife's promise when I forgot it," he said. "You have been more of a parent to my daughter than I have. While I was hiding from my own grief, you were raising my child. I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve what you did tonight." Ruth had no words. She had not been thanked for anything in 4 years. She had certainly never been bowed to by a man like him. She had not done it for this. She wanted him to know that. "I did not call you to be rewarded," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I called because a little girl was going to be thrown away. That is all. I would have called if it cost me everything." "I know," Takeshi said. "That is how I know I can trust you with her." And that was the moment Ruth understood she was not being fired. She was being asked to stay forever. "You are not furniture," Takeshi said. He had heard that too. "You are the reason my daughter still has a childhood. You are not leaving this family. Not ever. Unless it is what you want." Behind him, a small voice. Hana, reaching for Ruth's hand. "Stay," the little girl said. "Please stay." Ruth stayed. People think love is loud. They think it announces itself. A ring, a vow, a grand romance under bright lights. They are wrong. The truest love is often the quietest thing in the house. It is a maid fishing a dead woman's scarf out of the trash so a little girl can keep it. It is a promise kept for years, with no one watching and no reward coming. It is one whispered phone call that risks everything to save a child who is not even your own. Ruth was called furniture. She turned out to be the foundation the whole house was standing on. Never look past the quiet ones. They are usually the ones holding everything together, and when the moment finally comes, they are usually the only ones brave enough to pick up the phone. If that moment on the bedroom floor got you, tell me in the comments, what was the exact second you knew Hana was going to be safe? If you have ever loved a child who was not your own, or been saved by someone the world called nobody, then this story is for you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to know what became of Ruth and Hana and the man who finally came home, the family the three of them became, say the word, and I will tell you the rest.